Okay, let's see. Hello. Oh, the headphones weren't on. There it is. Hello there. Welcome to the James Arnold Taylor podcast. Hey, Hank.
Hey, James.
Hey, Billy. Hey, Mr. James, Sir James a lot. James. Okay. Hey, Mr. Announcer Guy.
Yeah, dude.
Do that intro so we can get right to it. It's part 2 of the interview with my wife, Allison Taylor. It's exciting.
Yeah, man. Cue that music, Jerry the Music Man.
You got it, Mr. Announcer Guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's the James Arnold Taylor podcast. Talking to myself, the JATcast. Today, Jat continues his interview with his special guest, Allison Taylor, his lovely wife.
Yeah, man.
Now, here he is, the same guy that's doing all the voices you're hearing, including this one, James Arnold Taylor!
Thanks, man. Okay, hey, let's get right to it. It's a nice long interview, another section of time talking with my wonderful, beautiful, lovely wife, Allison Taylor, here on the James Arnold Taylor podcast. Go ahead and cue that interview, guys. Okay, part 2.
Part 2. Now I'm just going to say I've been on a podcast twice.
That's right. Now you're getting cocky about it now. So here we are, part 2. Last week we ran that episode. And of course we just recorded it though here, but it was a week ago for everybody listening.
Yeah.
And we went through kind of the first half of our lives together. Mm-hmm. To a point, to a degree,
sure.
But I thought that was kind of fun.
I
hope people liked it. I think people liked it. Who knows? We'll find out. So now we can kind of cover life together over the last,
right,
30 plus years.
Since we've been working together.
And we have a daughter that we've had for 19, almost 20 years.
Right. Coming
up on 20 years here. She's going to be 20 years old. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
And we've been working together. Yeah. So when we last left, James and Allison, you had just quit your job in the medical management industry to work for me in show business.
Ooh.
You are, I think it's fair to say, the least interested in show business than any person I've ever met in my life.
That's likely accurate.
Why is that?
I don't get easily impressed by things like that.
Yeah.
I think it's neat. I am a fan of certain things.
Sure.
But it doesn't interest me so much.
And you've been around it for the majority of your life now.
Right.
Being married to me, before we were married, I was a stand-up comic. I was a radio DJ. I was all these things in the public eye. We were interacting with celebrities. I would take you to concerts. You would get to meet everybody from Tears for Fears to, well, you didn't get to meet Sting, but many.
It's almost like I met Sting.
You've met many, many very famous people in your life.
Yeah.
And they're just regular people to you.
They are people.
I think a lot of that has to do with your grounding in your faith.
Yeah.
You, again, were raised in a home that was just facts are facts. And
yes.
Christian walk is the Christian walk. I think you've said this before. You don't have any great testimony, you don't feel.
Yeah, I feel like because I've always known the Lord, I don't have that aha moment that I think a lot of people have. And that's important. And it's important to them, and that's fine. But I don't really have that. I mean, there was the moment when I decided I wanted to get baptized, which I feel is important, but it's just different.
There wasn't some great, I was, living a life of prodigal living and all of that. And then all of a sudden the Lord snapped me out of it and woke me up and all. Right. And, I would say that even I don't have that. I was living a life that was not in the presence of God or Christian faith. I did not understand it. I didn't know about it. I'll cover that in another episode. A lot of people have asked me to do an episode where I talk about my faith journey and all that. I'll have to do that at some point, but not on this one because we're talking about us and we're talking about you specifically. And in the first half, so we recorded our first half here, and then we went down and had a little lunch. We're back from lunch, and you said, "Oh, I didn't want to interrupt," because I said, "Boy, I sure talked a lot." So you can interrupt me in this
Okay.
one. All right. So let me ask you this. Living in a house with a guy. So here's the question you get asked all the time. Does he do voices all the time? And I always, when I'm on stage, I have a joke because it's funny. It gets a laugh, but it's not necessarily true. Like I'll say, people will go, oh, people ask my poor wife all the time, does he do voices all the time? And she goes, yes. But that's actually not true.
No, you really don't do a lot of voices at home. You're just you. We're just two people.
Just two people. You're laughing because that's a show
it.
that we watch.
Yeah.
That's a reference from a show that we watch.
Inside joke. Sorry.
As time goes by. Yes.
Yes. But yeah, we just live our lives. I probably do more silly voices than you do.
Yeah. Although I do a couple for you and Lydia. But even Lydia growing up, people are like, oh my gosh, story time must have been so crazy. And she's like, no, he did his regular voice for all of her stuffed animals. I just did like my regular voice. We're like, hey, how's it going? I'm going to go over here. I wouldn't come up with a voice. It never occurred to me that I should, even though that's what I do for a living.
You would do the voices when you'd read her a book. You'd become all the characters in the book. But when it just came to her little stuffed animals that were on her bed, they were just you.
Yeah.
That is very funny.
Very funny. So we'll talk about being a mom.
Okay.
We'll talk about being a wife, being a friend, being a believer, being somebody that works in Hollywood. Because the thing is even though you do not, let's stick on that for a minute. You do not sit there and go, oh, wow, Hollywood or showbiz or any of that. You work in it every single day.
Yes.
So that's probably what makes you pretty darn good at your job.
Well, thank you.
You negotiate my contracts. You deal with my agents. You deal with clients. You schedule everything. Everything is scheduled through you.
Yep.
So if I have, and so you end up doing all of the things that when we said, like in the last episode, that you were going to stop working and work for me and take over our business and run our office and run the finances of it. We have people that help us with our finances, our financial advisor and things like that. Accountants for taxes and such. But the thing I love about you is you still keep like old-fashioned records of everything still. Before it goes to everybody else, you are always keeping track. I think that's important.
Yeah.
I think it's important that people understand that it's always good to know exactly where all your money is, all your time is, all your efforts are, all your energies and everything there and protect those things.
Yes.
Do you
Yeah.
have anything to say on that?
Well, for example, yes, I keep all the records, but we hire an accountant because taxes are something I don't understand. They are very complicated, especially for business owners. And I don't want to make a mistake on something like that. So that's why I hire a professional to handle that for us. But I have to give them all the records because they don't know where the money's going.
Right.
So they have to be told, okay, this goes there. This is for this purpose. This is for business purpose. This wasn't for business purpose. And then they put it in the right category, whereas I feel like I would mess that all up.
However, you say that, but you actually like doing Excel documents and categorizing things. And
I don't mind that.
You kind of enjoy all of that.
But the laws change too quickly. I don't know if I could keep up.
But even with that, you read every contract. In fact, dare I say, I know this to be true. And if my agents are listening, yeah, right. You read contracts better than my agents do.
Well, thank you. I read every word typically. And if you have a recurring contract, I just make sure it's the same as the one before. But I will still go through it and make sure it still says the same thing as the one before.
Because they change things.
They do.
We've seen that.
Sneak things in sometimes and,
Especially
things that
these
don't make
giant
sense.
Corporations, when they make little changes that to them seem like no big deal. Oh, we're just going to add an AI clause in here. We'll just throw it in here. Or, we're going to take away those residuals and we're just going to, pay a one-time flat fee. And you catch all these things.
We have to know it all. Yeah.
And it's because you are an incredibly patient person, which we'll also talk more about. I mean, being married to me, you have to be a pretty patient person.
Oh, yeah. Nah, I'm just kidding.
And having Lydia as a daughter, because Lydia and I are very similar. We are extroverts and we are kind of, "Wah!" And you are just straight, just simple, just there you go. This is it. And so you keep an eye on the insanity. And you even keep an eye on the insanity that, like I say, my agents might miss.
Sure.
And I really appreciate that. Your probably biggest job is watching out for me.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything that you would like to say about that, or anything that you see, you're my greatest advocate, but is there, I don't know. Do you have anything on that?
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it kind of makes me perhaps bad cop every once in a while, and I don't want to be. I certainly don't want to be mean, but I also have to be honest. And when something isn't going in a proper direction, I will say something.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that gets people upset with me because they don't want to deal with the things that I feel are important.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to be honest, I think.
Well, that is our business. You and I have, because of our faith and our attempting to be as grateful as we can be to the Lord for all that he's given us, we want to manage all of it as well as we can. And we want to be grateful to him first and foremost. And so we want to be good stewards. We also want to be kind to our neighbor. We want to love our neighbor as ourselves. And sometimes that means being the bad cop.
Yeah.
Just like being a parent, which we can talk about as well. People always say, oh, Lydia is an amazing child. And and now she's an amazing adult, young adult. And all that, she's so great. She's so amazing, and they'd be like, what's your secret? And it's like, we were probably, in the eyes of other people, really mean at times to Lydia.
I had a friend.
Can you explain that?
Yeah. Well, as an example, I had a friend I was visiting with at my mom's house. It was a Thanksgiving or something like that. And a friend came over, and Lydia was a baby. And so my mom's house wasn't fully childproof. So we had to really keep an eye on her. She was starting to crawl around, and you have to tell her no. You don't want her reaching for that outlet or that thing that's going to fall off the table and hurt her or get broken or whatever. So I'd say no to her a lot.
Yeah.
And actually, this friend got very upset with me for saying no to her. And I thought, but this is all she understands. And if I just let her do that, what's going to happen next time? Is she going to be safe? Is that irresponsible? I felt it would be completely irresponsible to just let her do whatever she wanted to do as a 9-month-old baby.
Yeah.
So those things are things where people go, gosh, you're so mean to her. And I don't see it as mean. I see it as protecting.
Yeah, protecting her and teaching her right from wrong.
And teaching,
And the thing that she says now is she thanks us for it.
She does.
That we were not the parents that always just said, yes, 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 whatever, okay. And also because she grew up in a very affluent environment where she could have been extremely spoiled very easily.
Yeah.
So you have to be honest.
Yeah.
And you have to say no, because a lot of times the right answer is no.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we pray about things, God's answer is no, not right now.
Yeah.
Or no, not at all. Rethink that. And so you and I have been quite the team in that, in our business, in our lives, in our journey, in our walk as parents, in our walk as husband and wife, in our walk as friends to other people. And sometimes it costs us friendships. Sometimes it costs us business relations. Sometimes it costs us family members.
Yeah.
For being honest enough to say no to things that, aren't the best things for somebody else, but they don't see it that way.
Yeah.
So I bring that up just because that's a lot of our life is having to kind of go, well, no, this is really the way that it should work. And I think we're in a place, I talk about this a lot on the show. I know you listen to the show with me sometimes, but I try to explain to people, know more than you want to know, which is kind of that same premise, right? Of there's not going to be, everything in life isn't going to be exactly what you want. I also talk about the things that are difficult are building us up in strength. So if we go to the gym and we work out with a personal trainer, Andrew, hi, if you're listening, he's not listening, but Andrew's a great young man.
Yes.
Great shape. He knows a lot. He's got all this knowledge, all this information. And if we just went over and went, oh, I want to do this thing and just picked it up and started doing it, he'd be going to know. Now, is he mean for doing that? No, he's protecting us.
Yeah.
Because he knows that, okay, like he's working with us very slow, very incrementally, because I have shoulder injuries, you have hip issues, we both have back, neck things sometimes.
Sure.
So we go very slow. When we talked to the trainers and we met Andrew the first time, we said, we need to go really slow on things. And I think that a lot of times people forget. And that's why I know there's a lot of young people that are just kind of starting out in their lives right now that listen to the show.
Yeah.
The thing I want to impress upon people and to parents that are listening and stuff, you're not bad if you say no to your kid.
Right.
If you're doing it in love and you're doing it to protect and you're doing it to show them a better way and to grow in life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think most people think of no as just something that's mean. A yes is the only thing that's nice. But saying no could be the nicest thing you do to someone, depending on what it is.
It could save their life, literally. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it could save them a lot of heartache. And there's been a lot of times where we've said no to Lydia, where, much later she went, oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes to the conclusion on her own. Now, I will also say this. We pray a lot about it.
We do.
And then also, so in as much as you're the bad cop in business, in our business, because of my scheduling of things or whatever, and you're sometimes the one that has to go, I'm sorry, it's just not going to work for his schedule.
Yes.
No, we can't do that, but we can do this, that, or the other. I'm the bad cop when it comes to parenting, probably more so.
Yeah.
You have been the teacher though, and you were the bad cop a lot of times when you were the teacher.
Had to be.
We homeschooled Lydia K through 12.
Yes.
So her entire educational time, and she chose not to go to college. That was her own choice, and I applaud her for that. Quite honestly, if she wanted to go to college, we would have had her, help her, but she would have had to pay for it. But we would have helped her,
yes,
and such, because we believe in that whole, the kind of the Dave Ramsey principles of finances and such. But I've been the one that has been kind of the bad cop with Lydia a lot, where I have to really be the one that's a little more firm in that. So I think it's a good trade-off in our life, in our business. Is it a challenge to handle the schedule of a famous voice actor?
Well, it is sometimes. And sometimes there are things where your day could just be completely full. But I know also you need rest time because the work that you do is strenuous at times.
Yeah.
Like when we go to Comic-Cons, you have to travel and then you have to be on talking to people the entire time you're making that appearance. And that may just seem, he's just having conversations with people, but you are performing for them. You are giving them an experience. And it's more than just showing up and going to a party and having a few cocktails and saying hello to people.
Yeah. You mean hello there.
Yeah. Hello there. Yes. You're not just having a simple conversation.
Yeah.
And same with your work. It's not just simply speaking into a microphone. You are acting, and all the actors out there know exactly what it takes to do that. It's not just speaking, it's acting. And so anytime you're in any performance, it's a performance.
So you see it more than anybody. You've seen it more than anybody. You've seen the beginning, middle, and you'll see the end of my career at some point. And that has been what has been the most interesting part of that, or anything. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like kind of seeing the growth and the journey?
Yeah, it's really nice now that I'm going to the Comic-Cons with you and being at your table and seeing the fans come up. And it's nice to see how excited they are because they love your work. And it's neat for them to have that experience. And I see it with the other celebrity guests there as well. They're excited to see everybody, and they're excited to get that autograph or that selfie or whatever it is, or even just to meet these people that they've been wanting to meet who have this impact on their lives. And it's rewarding. It's rewarding for you to have people tell what they really love about your work because you put everything into your work and then it comes back to you.
Yeah.
And that's neat to see.
Oh, that's nice. So we're going to do now, after much decisions and prayer, lots and lots of prayer, we have decided to do another full year, full schedule of Comic-Cons.
Yeah.
One last hurrah, so to speak.
Yes.
You and I are going to do as many as we can, hopefully as much as 25 different Comic-Cons this
Maybe
year.
so.
And start just going everywhere and meeting as many folks as we can. And that'll be kind of our last hurrah on those. And then we'll probably take a break after the year 2025 and take a break from Comic-Cons. But that was a decision we made together. And so I'm kind of jumping around here. But I think the majority of things that I want to really kind of stress is that you and I make all our decisions together. People
Yes.
say, okay, you've been married coming up on 34 years. You've been together 36 years.
Mm-hmm.
You've been a couple for 36 years.
Yeah.
What is the key to that?
Mm-hmm.
And what do we always say?
Communication.
Yes. Wouldn't it be funny if I said, no, it's not that?
That would be funny. But
Yes.
also, living life as a Christian couple, God is the center of our marriage and of our lives. And we have a proper order to that.
Yeah.
And God is the head. You are the head of our household. You are the husband.
Yeah.
And that's important that you take your place.
Yeah.
And we have to be in our proper place with each other and with God to find the greatest success, I feel.
Yeah, it's actually, people would look at that and they read, and I think a lot of people that don't understand the Bible and they look at it and they read that, or what I mean by don't understand it, I mean that they haven't taken the time to really kind of digest it or have an open heart to it. They might look and see things in the Bible that look antiquated or old or, out of date. But the truth is that God says, look, if everybody's kind of in these positions, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
And I can use you to your best degree.
Yes, when you're free to be the person He created you to be, then you are able to come to your highest potential.
Well said.
Thank you.
And that is because you say things well, because you think things out. And I go, well. But so I had another thought on all of this. I can't remember what it was. Is there anything you would like to say that I've missed thus far?
I don't think so.
This is so you.
I can't think of anything.
Perfectly, Allison. No, I'm fine. I'm good either way. Like we could be like, I could start the day and go, do you want to go out and we'll do a bunch of shopping? You go, yeah, that sounds great. Or we'll go for a walk or we'll go out and we'll go get a bite. Yeah, that sounds great. And then I'll go, you know what? Maybe we should just stay home. You go, yeah, that's great.
I'm very flexible.
Yes, you're amenable to all things as long as we have a fun time.
Yes. All I want to do is have fun.
So that was what we were talking about. We were talking about communication, but I think it's also about honesty. Now, we were talking about the fact that we're brutally honest in our business. And at times people don't like that.
Yeah.
But we're brutally honest with each other in our marriage. We're brutally honest with our daughter in our parenting and in our friendships. We try to be that. And we have, I think that's the other thing, being a person in the spotlight, in the public eye, it can be a very lonely life. It's not like you and I have loads of friends. We have friends and we have people that we hang out with and stuff. But for the most part, it's pretty much just you and me, kid. That's our time because we've been through so many different things. We've been through sickness and in health, everything. When I got sick with black toxic mold and got very sick, thankfully you did not.
Yeah.
I praise God for that daily, that you and Lydia, neither of you ever got sick from the mold. And that was, I think, a blessing from God. Yeah. But the one thing that I also would say about Allison is that you, because of kind of your personality traits that we've been discussing in all of this too, is that when I got really sick and we found that the best thing for me was going to be going on a very strict regimented diet, steamed vegetables, rice, a little protein, no seasonings, no dairy, no gluten, no sugar, no candies, no processed foods, no beverages outside of water, for a very long time. You went, okay.
Yeah, because I wanted you to be better. And if there's very few ways to achieve health, good health. And if this was the way, then I'm going to do it.
So how important is it for a couple to be on the same page in these things?
I think it's vital. You live together. You do need to be on the same page with most everything.
And it's about sacrifice then for, one or both and different sacrifices. For me, it was, and it's my personality trait. When I hear, okay, you've lost your voice, you've got to get your voice back, this is what you need to do. I go, okay, I'll do it.
Yes.
But you didn't have any of that.
No.
You didn't have any health issues. So that were related to the mold. We all have our issues, right?
Of course.
You have one that I've think I've even spoke about on the show. You have what they call POF, which is premature ovarian failure,
Yes.
which is why we adopted.
Right.
But that was different than my being exposed to black mold and needing to cleanse my system. But you chose to do the same diet, the same way, and to live and breathe and exercise and all that the exact same way as me.
Right.
As a team.
Yeah.
And you made that sacrifice as well.
Because that hopefully, and at the time I was saying, hopefully now I see that it did bring good. I wanted you to be encouraged and didn't want you to be tempted by miscellaneous foods that you still wanted to eat that, well, I can't give this up, so I'm going to eat it anyways in front of you. That didn't seem right to me. And what would I want in return if the shoe was on the other foot? Wouldn't I want someone to encourage me and do this with me? Well, yes, of course I would.
Yeah.
So it's not that hard, actually, when it's all said and done. I still ate, and I have reaped the benefits of it as well, because I feel I have become more healthy and more aware because I joined the journey with you.
Yeah. We both, lost weight. We got fit. We got mental clarity, all these things that we still hold on to 20 years later.
Yeah.
And is a huge part of our day-to-day life. In fact, just now, going downstairs to make our little snacks, what is it we're going to have? You're going to have some clean organic chicken breast wrapped in a almond tortilla, and I'm going to have, beans and rice and kale.
Yeah.
With a little hummus on it, and you had a little, vegan cream cheese on yours, right? So we have this balance, but we have these things. It's not hard when you have a partner that is willing to do it as well.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you for that publicly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also just encourage other people.
Yes.
So if we could encourage other people in their marriages today through this podcast, we would say communication, brutal honesty.
Yes.
Brutal honesty with the caveat of that you acknowledge that.
And with the love you have for each other.
Right. That, like, for example, if Lydia and I get into a kerfuffle and I snap at her, Lydia, you left the dishes in the sink or whatever, whatever it is. And I get a little impatient with her. I then have the responsibility, because I've been brutally honest, this happened, this got in the way, and all that, to then say, now I acknowledge that I came off a little harsh there because I was frustrated. I was feeling that. So, like, talking about our feelings, talking about logic and fact versus sometimes our feelings, which can be different. And then acknowledging it and asking for forgiveness and moving forward and making sure that everybody is okay. That's a huge part of our day-to-day lives with each other, with our daughter, hopefully with our other people we interact with.
And using that example, she was wrong for leaving the dishes in the sink, but if you felt like you were wrong in your reaction to it, then you say, okay, well, now I need to make amends for that.
Well, and it's easier to have a little spat about it than to ignore it and never say anything.
Right.
Because that builds resentment. And so I believe that though we are a family that talks through things, Lydia and I have talked about this on the podcast before, ad nauseum at times because of me. That's due to me. Because I grew up in a house with a lot of lying, a lot of secrets, a lot of holding things back and then and then having resentment felt put upon you, that I can't do it. It's very hard to be an actor in showbiz, even harder to be an actor in Star Wars, Marvel, DC, any huge franchise that is all about secrets, because I am signed away, to not say anything. And yet I, as a Christian, as somebody that grew up in the household that I grew up with, where I kind of went, I want nothing but honesty. Right. I find it very hard with fans when they ask me about things. It's like, I can't lie.
Right.
But I just go, I can't say anything. Sorry, I can't say anything about that. But we are a brutally honest family with each other and hopefully with other people. And Lydia has learned to be that as well. You grew up in a house with two wonderful parents, loving parents that loved each other and loved all of you. And like your grandma as well. But even you did not have the same honesty that we
No.
have here.
Yeah, we didn't resolve our conflicts really. If mom or dad got mad at me, they'd get mad at me, and that was the end of that. And we never talked about it again. It was as if it never happened.
Yeah.
So I was left with feelings about it, but never resolved them really.
No place to really put them.
Mm-mm.
So that was kind of our thing. I think when we were first married and living our lives and talking about things and going like, how do we want to live? And in giving it all to God and in studying his word and doing that together. We pray together every day.
Yep.
Obviously we pray over our meals, but when we wake up in the morning, we pray together. And then we pray individually, and then we do our own little Bible studies individually, and sometimes we do our Bible studies together. But that is our goal, is to always be honest enough with each other and to know that when somebody says something, sometimes it's like, there's no other way of saying this.
Yeah.
You know, that outfit doesn't look great on you, right? Or that your hair is completely insane, James, or, you know, whatever it is, right? We know that that is not to hurt,
Sure.
but to help. And that's kind of the whole thing of this podcast for me, is I want to normalize several things. I want to normalize Jesus in people's minds, even if they don't believe in Jesus. I said this in the last couple episodes. Just the name of Jesus shouldn't be a great offense to people.
Right.
Because for us as Christians, it is everything. He is the basis of everything, our breath in our lungs. But I also want to normalize honesty. I want to normalize the ability to hear honest thoughts from other people and people's feelings, realizing they may not be exactly right either. But that's how we find forgiveness and redemption. And then also just normalizing the fact that we will disagree.
Yeah.
People will disagree. You and I, we agree on so much, yet we also are very different from each other.
Yes. And we can discuss those differences. And sometimes we change each other's minds.
Yeah.
It just depends on what it is. And it depends on its importance. If we can continue to disagree about it, if it's very unimportant, that's fine. But if it's something of great importance, we have to determine which way we're going to think about that particular thing.
Yeah. And then there's the balance of, I kind of talk about this a little in Hidden Blessings. Even Gregory has a little speech at the end talking about the prodigal son, of not thinking then like that you have it together so well that then you kind of lose track of what you're actually doing.
Yes.
So we don't want to sit here on our high horse so much with each other. Oh, we communicate everything so wonderfully to each other. We're so wonderful that you've lost touch.
Right.
So you always have to check in. So that's part of communication.
Yes.
So yeah, I think, you know, in a perfect world, someday you and I would get to write a book about marriage and family and parenting, because I think we've done okay.
Yeah.
But I really give the credit to God.
Yes.
And you.
Oh, that's very sweet. Well, yeah, we're far from perfect, but if we do our best with love and with honesty and compassion for each other, then you get the best result. It may not be pretty, the journey, but the result should be very good.
Yeah. Because certainly the journey of losing my voice and all of that was not fun.
It was very hard.
Would you have any thoughts there? I don't know if I've ever asked you this. Memories or thoughts of that time period?
It was really not just difficult, but it was hopeless. You know, you were in the middle of your career. You were doing all sorts of projects and things were going very well. And then all of a sudden the doctor says, don't speak at all for an undetermined amount of time. Well, what do we do? Where does our income come from? I mean, everything just felt like it was falling apart. Maybe that's a little dramatic, but at the time, that's how it felt. And it felt very out of control.
Plus, we were in the middle of a lawsuit with these people for the house because of the things that had happened to the house. The house had, 180 some odd pages of problems.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we were in the process of adopting our daughter internationally from a foreign country. And we didn't know what to expect and what was next.
Yeah, stress levels were a little high.
They were very high.
But all in all, you just have to move forward and do it together, because these are things that normally break marriages apart.
Yeah.
because you either don't want to deal with it, or you just stop communicating, or you just get fed up with the person.
Yeah.
And all those things you have to fight against because everything was just so frustrating at the time.
Yeah.
And you don't want to take it out on each other,
Yeah.
but sometimes you just do because we're so, like I said, far from perfect.
Yeah.
That then that's where the grace comes in, where you have to go, okay, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to work this out with you.
Mm-hmm.
I blew it here. I'm sorry.
Right.
Let's work it out.
Right. And then the other person has to go, likewise,
Mhm.
I did this here and I'm wrong here and I'm sorry there. Or I was just reactive here.
Yes.
I love you and I'm sorry. You know, all of that.
Yeah.
So communication is the key.
Yes.
Accountability
Mhm.
as well, holding each other accountable to what you've promised to do.
Yes.
And I think we do that in our business, in our relationship, in
Mhm.
our marriage, in our parenting and everything.
Mhm.
So I don't sit there and say this as, again, from some high horse of this, but I only bring all these up because I think people, for one, people were curious about you being on the show and you being kind of this silent partner,
Mhm.
really, in
Yep.
a world where I spend my living speaking. But that people also see that, yeah, we've been married for a very long time. We have a very successful young daughter
Mhm.
who's a wonderful human being.
Yes.
And so what's your secrets?
Mhm.
So that's why I wanted to kind of be able to talk about it here and just kind of go what our secrets are, you know, quote unquote.
Secret to success. Yes.
Yeah, is that. But it's that there really isn't any great secret. It's just biblical foundations of,
Mhm.
you know, do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with God,
Absolutely.
and love your neighbor as yourself. And you know, in that, love yourself as well.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that that's something that you sometimes will have issues with.
I do. I struggle with that. It's hard to love myself. I guess as a mother, you put your child first.
Yeah.
And so then you I've heard this from a lot of mothers, you forget yourself in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you have to work away from, forgetting yourself. You have to remember yourself. You have to still take care of yourself, not in a selfish manner, of course, but in a manner that will help your family.
What's interesting about you is you are one of those people that will not go out, have your nails done, get your hair
No.
done, buy fancy clothes. You have none of the desires for any of those things.
No, it
and you
doesn't.
forget
Yeah.
to do those things sometimes. I
Yeah,
think.
it doesn't really interest me. I just,
And you have a daughter that is as pink and frilly a princess as you could ever
Yes.
have. And she has been from day one.
Mhm.
So now let's talk about that, because I want to say this. I think that you are, and obviously I'm biased, and I would say this, but it's the God's honest truth. I think you are the world's best mother.
thank you.
You were, and I say that you were born to be a mama.
Oh.
And you did an amazing job raising our daughter.
Thank you. I had a pretty good partner.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. I did all right, but I appreciate that. I acknowledge that. But you were the quintessential mom. You loved being a mom.
It's really fun.
I bring that up for one, to compliment you and such, and to give people an idea of who you are and what you're about, but also because I think you know where I'm going with this.
Mhm.
I've talked a little bit about it on the show before without you,
Mhm.
but you did not think you would ever be a mom.
No, I sure didn't. When I was 13, I was told you will never have children. And to a 13-year-old, that says you would not make a good mother.
Hmm.
So instead of me thinking, well, I will never become pregnant, it was, no, you shouldn't be a mother because that would be bad. And that was my interpretation of what was told to me,
Yeah.
which was
Now,
something
let's-
very simple.
Can we back up for a minute? It was told to you by doctors.
Yes.
When they did tests, because you started having issues that were making it apparent that
Yeah.
you
There were
perhaps were not, you were having hormonal
hormonal issues, and they did blood work and all this testing and such. And they determined you have premature ovarian failure, which means you will not have children. So, but they should have said that means you will not become pregnant in a natural fashion.
Yeah.
So I took that information, decided what it meant, because we didn't talk about it in my family, really, because I think my parents didn't know how to cope with that either. Understandably. It's a big thing when you think you're just going to have grandchildren from all your children.
Well, and there's also probably some guilt.
Of
Feeling,
course.
oh my gosh, well, she has these
what did
medical
I do?
problems. What did I do wrong? But as we covered in the first episode, you were kind of a miracle baby anyways. Your mom had some reproductive issues, and it was a miracle that she had you.
Absolutely.
So maybe it's no surprise that you had some reproductive issues as well.
Yeah, that would make sense. So then as I grew into adulthood, I still had that 13-year-old thought of just don't be a mother. And so I just would always put that down. I don't want it. It doesn't matter to me.
Because that's what we do, by the way. Whatever we've experienced as a traumatic experience, as a life-altering experience, whatever age we were at, whenever we experience anything like that again, we kind of revert back to that age if we've not properly gone through it, walked through it.
Correct.
So, I had traumatic things happen to me from the ages of 4, 5, 6, 7, beyond into my, teen years. But I had, especially from the ages of between 4 and 7 years old, I had some traumatic things happen to me. So when I experience certain things, I can revert to what my responses were as a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Which, as a 55-year-old is not a good thing. So that's why I've always been very open on the show. I've had years of talk therapy with therapists. I've done EMDR. I've done hypnosis. I've done neurofeedback. I've done Cereset. I've done all sorts of neurological things to help get my brain and body and mind and soul through and over the humps of life and hurdles that life gives us at young ages that make us unable to handle them at older age if we're not so equipped.
Right.
My going to counseling since my 20s, I think was very helpful for you when you reached this point, when we came to the conclusion, when I came to the conclusion that it was time that we adopt a child.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if I was on board with that. And that scared me because I thought, wait a minute, this is a huge issue. And if we disagree, how are we going to ever come to an agreement on this?
Right.
But I had to face the fact that I had pushed down wanting to be a mother, pretending that feeling never existed. But it was always there. I had to face it. And that was hard because I was very emotional. And I had to speak, my father had passed away by this time, and I had to speak with my mother about it and explain to her why I felt how I did and that she had a little bit to do with that. And I wasn't blaming her.
But you were acknowledging it again.
Needed
that whole thing about the truth, brutal honesty. But when you get through the brutal part of the honesty, you're at the heart of honesty, which is the best for people.
And I was so grateful that it actually happened this way because I was able to talk to her about it. And she was so wonderful in discussing this with me.
Yeah.
And she then, she apologized for her part and then became so excited that she would be the grandmother to our child or children. And that was so perfect. And that's what I needed. And she provided that. And it made all of the hurt just go away. And we were able to move forward.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It was great.
And again, it allowed you to be the world's greatest mom. Now, obviously, there's other people listening that go, no, my wife's the world's greatest mom. And that's wonderful. That's how we all should be. But what I will just say is you were meant to be a mom. You were born to be a mom. You are so good at it. And you love it.
I do. Yes.
You would play with Lydia. When she was younger, I'm thinking 0 to 7, 8, whatever, beyond all those kind of formative years. And you homeschooled her. So you guys would do your homeschooling. And then the rest of the day, you might set up a restaurant in our entire downstairs of our house.
Yeah.
And you guys would play restaurant.
We would. Yeah.
And you were in it as much as she was.
I was.
You'd have your little pad, your little apron and the pencil, and you'd write down on the pad, well, hey, honey, what are you going to have today? Okay, ham and cheese, all right. All that, you'd take orders.
We had a cash register, and we'd use our little play money.
You always wanted a cash register.
Yes, it was so fun.
So I bought you a real cash register. that really works. It's still here. We still have it. And you were able to put in what, like Monopoly money or something in there?
Yeah, we bought some play
fake
money.
That's right. We
yeah.
bought play money. Yeah. Coins and everything. And you guys would play restaurant or you would play
we played everything.
I don't know, so many other things.
We one time had a birthday party for one of her stuffed animals, and all her stuffed, I don't know how many there were, 20 or 30 stuffed
probably,
animals. Yeah. We made paper crowns for every single one of them.
And that was part of the arts and crafts for the day of homeschooling.
Yes.
And again, she was probably 6 or 7 at this point. So, that when you're, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, those are parts of things you would do anyways.
Yes.
And we have
so
pictures
fun.
of all of them. And you had like from tiny little stuffed animals to gigantic ones.
Yes.
You made different crowns using like construction paper.
And they were individually fit for each stuffed animal's head.
So you did all that in the first half, and then you had the party.
Then we had the party. Yeah, we made a cupcake. I think 1 cupcake or something crazy. I don't know how we did that, but yes.
So you enjoyed being a mama.
Yes, very much.
And now it's a different thing.
It's very different, yeah.
Now we're in our 50s, and our daughter is about to be in her 20s. And we very soon will probably become empty nesters. Which means that Lydia she will fly the coop, and she will. Yeah. And you and I will then do this. And I think that's also why we kind of figured we'll do 1 more year of Comic-Cons. And then at the end of this year, she's probably going to move out.
Yeah.
And then you and I will have things to do just on our own. But we kind of do that anyways, right? We have a lot of, because she works
She's
now.
very independent, and she's still fun, but she has her own life, and she's creating her own experiences, and it is nice for her when we're gone because she gets to do her own thing really without any supervision.
Experience life on her own, what it would be like. So then, but it begs the questions, and what are you looking forward to then?
Well, what I'm really looking forward to is grandchildren. But in due time, the right man.
Yeah. When Lydia was, I think, 5 years old, she started praying for her husband.
Yes, she did.
So he's out there. Maybe he's listening to this podcast.
Maybe.
Doubtful. I hope not. No. That is a hard thing for her. Oh, let me touch on that, and then we'll touch on it for you. What I mean, when I say doubtful, I'm joking in that Lydia has grown up around a famous father and around a lot of famous people. And there's a lot of times where she's had friends that want to be her friend because she herself is an actress, and she's been an actress in things and has worked in showbiz, and that's fun and glamorous and exciting to people. And I think most people just kind of can't help it. It's hard to not be. I don't blame people for it, but sometimes she doesn't feel she gets the most honest of friendships through that because people are more impressed with who her dad is, or that maybe, Obi-Wan Kenobi will say something to them or what have you. How has that been for you? You have known me. You're the one person outside of my siblings and some of my friends, some of my high school friends that have known me before I was famous. What is that like?
Well, sometimes it has the same effect. People want to be friends with me so they can know you.
Yeah.
And it was that way when we first started dating in high school. All of a sudden, all these people were like, "Hi, Allison." And I'm thinking, wait, you weren't interested in me yesterday, and today I'm different because I'm dating James. So every once in a while there's that, but really it's just life.
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, it's nice. I think that it's more and more now because I'm on camera more and all of that too. And we go places. I mean, I think every time the last 3 or 4 times we've been at the airport, I've been stopped by somebody.
Right.
And it's always been wonderful to meet people, and it's very exciting for them.
Everybody's very nice.
Do you kind of get excited for people when you see all that? You mentioned that kind of like at the Comic-Cons,
Yeah, it is. It's neat for them. I am happy for them. It might be a little bit awkward, and then I'm just standing there, but
or you got to take the picture.
Yeah.
Do you mind? Will you take a picture? But yeah, that has been a big part of your life, is having to be kind of on the sidelines of a very kind of out in the public eye lifestyle. Yet, I don't know if most people know even what you look like, or,
Right. Yeah.
now they know what you sound like.
Yeah. And a lot of people at the Comic-Cons will ask me if I'm Mrs. Taylor,
Yeah.
and they will acknowledge that. And, because there is time before the person gets to you to where they have time to talk to me. And
Yeah.
that's fine. And it's nice.
Yeah.
Everybody's been very nice, and they're very kind about meeting me.
And how hard is that for you as an introvert, spending an entire day at a Comic-Con where there's literally sometimes up to over 100,000 people at this show, and we see thousands of people in a day? For me, as an extrovert, I find it feeds my soul. For Lydia, it was the same.
Yes.
But for you, you're an introvert.
Yeah.
How is that?
It's harder for me, for sure. I have to really try to talk to people. And most of the time, it's not really that hard. But sometimes I just have to put myself out there in a different way. And I have to think of things to say. And I'm not as good at that with someone I don't know as with a friend. It's really easy and effortless. But with someone I don't know, sometimes it's just harder. And then I find that I get tired faster because I'm working harder. My brain is working harder.
So at the end of a Comic-Con day, you are ready.
I am ready.
But the thing is for me and for Lydia as well, we're ready too. Like people go, oh, what do you do at the end of, people will ask us often, they'll ask us to dinner afterwards, and it's very sweet. And I always want to say yes. Most of the time we have some other thing planned. Often we do. But then every once in a while, I have to be able to say, the truth is I will be no good to y'all, because I am done by the end of the day.
Yeah, we're pretty tired.
Yeah. And just kind of need to not speak much.
Yeah. And we don't. And that's okay.
We stare at each other.
Yeah.
So,
but it's nice that we get to be together. I feel very blessed that I have the opportunity to go with you so we can experience this together instead of being apart. Kind of almost like living different lives. And we don't have to do that.
So can you believe we've actually almost talked for another hour already?
Wow.
This is, gone very fast. We've covered a lot. I mean, there's probably 100 or 1,000 more stories we could tell
of course,
of our lives together. I tried to kind of cover some more of just like how we kind of live.
Yeah, I think you did a good job.
Well, thank you. If I've missed anything, let me know. But let me ask you this. We haven't talked about any of the characters on the show or anything.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
I think I like Reginald. Don't call me Reggie. He's funny. He's sassy.
And he's British. You want to be British.
I wish I was British. They are so charming, and they just say things so beautifully. And, us Americans, we just don't have that same charm.
Right. Right. So, yes. Anything to say with the fact that you are quite the trooper, because when I record this show, you allow Hank in here making his onion sandwiches.
Oh, that's
Billy. Billy's sweet.
He is
Mr.
sweet.
Announcer guy, Reginald, don't call me Reggie, Bob, the email guy, Jerry,
Just
the music
a lot
man.
Of people. Yeah, and when they don't take off their shoes when they come in.
Because
it's
we're a shoeless
mess.
house. Yeah, you don't like Mr. Announcer guy to not
He
take his
just
shoes off.
runs upstairs
Hank,
without
yeah.
thinking.
And then the people on the phones, you like Guinevere?
I do like Guinevere. She is funny.
Yeah, I'll have to tell her that. I'm sure she's listening.
Yeah.
Is
Of
there
course
anything you want
she's
to say
listening.
to Guinevere?
Oh, I just
Say,
encourage
"Shut
her.
up."
Yeah. She can keep calling. It's okay.
Okay. And Ferris?
Oh, I love
Now,
Ferris.
Ferris has been with us since my
Long
radio days,
time.
which we talked about before when I was a DJ.
We go way back.
Yes, Ferris has been around. That's a character I've done for many years. Franklin as well.
Yes.
Franklin was my
Franklin.
agent. If you watch my very first movie I ever made called The Comedy Team of Pete and James, which is for free on my YouTube channel. It's an entire feature film, and it was shot as a documentary as well, and it's called The Comedy Team of Pete and James. I have an agent in that called Franklin.
Well, of course I know Franklin. He's your agent. I talk to him all the time.
Do you have a favorite voice of mine?
Goodness. I don't know. Any of the British ones are great, but I don't know. They're all great.
Oh, see?
You're just so talented.
Oh, thanks. Yes, thank you so much. You never thought when you were that young gal marching behind me that you'd be married
No.
to me all these years later, and we'd have So many wonderful, beautiful, amazing stories and successes, and a podcast now, because we didn't even know what podcasts were. There was no such thing.
If you'd asked me to be on your podcast back then, I would have thought you were crazy.
If you could go back and do anything different, is there anything?
I guess not, because we certainly wouldn't be here if anything was different.
Yeah.
And this has been a good life.
So we try to live with no regrets. We try to be grateful for the love of Christ in our hearts, always grateful for all the opportunities he gives us, even the struggles, which we've talked a little bit about here, and the parts of life that are harder sometimes when we have to be honest with people or others, when we have to be honest with ourselves, when we have to look at ourselves deeper, and we have to see what our goals are and then go after them. I think that that's the most beautiful thing about our marriage and life together, is that we managed to set goals and keep them and constantly every year move upward and feel as though we're moving forward.
Absolutely.
So I would encourage other people to do the same. I know you would as well.
Yes.
And will you come back and do another episode sometime?
Sure. That would be great.
Okay. We'll see. I have a whole new year of podcasts, but you're the one that schedules all of this.
Okay. I might slip my name in there.
You could just, And then we will be seeing. I'll be seeing you once I hit stop on this, and then I'll see you down in the kitchen or something.
It'll be good to see you later.
Dinner, yeah. It's been delightful having my love, my best friend in the whole world, and my wife and partner in everything I do, Allison Taylor, join me on the James Arnold Taylor podcast for 2 full episodes. Now we moved these up, Allison, in that I'm going to do a Christmas episode and a New Year's episode. Okay. I had said before that these would be the last 2 episodes of the season, but I am going to do a Christmas and a New Year's one.
That's fine.
Okay.
You have my approval.
So we've moved you up, and now I have to edit these and put them out. But I think all in all, it's pretty easy. I don't think I'll have to edit too much.
Oh, good.
You're an easy guest.
Wow.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right. May the force be with you.
And you as well.
No, it just seems stupid saying that to you. All right. Goodbye there. Okay, there it is. I hope you all enjoyed that. You know, I'm listening back as I was editing through and taking out I was hitting the desk a lot. I realized I was at a table that did not have shock mounts on the mics. So I apologize to all of you. You kept hearing, That was me kind of hitting the desk as I was talking to her. And that was just because I wasn't wearing headphones and I didn't realize I was doing it. I moved my hands a lot. And so my hands would, anyways, there you go. But I hope you enjoyed the interview with my amazing guest and lovely wife, Allison Taylor, here on the James Arnold Taylor podcast. You know, we talked about a lot of things, and some of it, I don't want it to come off like, we're patting ourselves on the back. We weren't. What we were trying to do is really give you a sense of who we are as a married couple and how we believe and how we walk and how we live and what we do and how we parent and how we are to people. And there you go. So I hope it was enjoyable. I hope you learned a little something. And maybe, just maybe, you got a little something that you took along for your own life as well. I hope so. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you come back. We got 2 episodes left of the James Arnold Taylor podcast for the year 2024. We've got a Christmas episode coming up next, and then a New Year's episode coming up after that. God bless you all. Love you all so much. Thank you so much. Please put comments down in the YouTube area. And even if you listen someplace else and you want to say something to me or you want to ask me a question, you can put a comment down in the YouTube. Please subscribe to my YouTube. Please subscribe to my Instagram. Please subscribe on my X Twitter thing. I don't know what it's called. And follow me on all those places. Please check out my IMDb and do that on a regular basis. Please check out my movie Hidden Blessings. Thank you so much. God bless you, Mr. Announcer. Do that legal mama jumbo!
Talking to Myself, the James Arnold Taylor podcast is a production of Yumigo Inc., recorded at Chat Studios. Engineered, written, recorded, and produced by, you guessed it, James Arnold Taylor. All voices are parody and should be construed as entertainment only. All music and sound effects used with permissions and licenses through Backtracks, Digital Juice, Production Tracks, and Partners in Rhyme. James Arnold Taylor's Talking to Myself, the podcast. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved.
Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time. And goodbye.